moving to the last point of our conversation, meaning the Eurozone. When you see what's happening right now, especially after Brexit, give me your assessment of where the Eurozone is going, especially given the fractious nature of what Brexit has done to Europe, I guess, in general, and also with the extension of new this is a lot to put into one question, but you have the phenomenon of Brexit. You also have the phenomenon of even Balkan nations who want to join the EU. What is your assessment of how Eurozone leaders are coping with such changes in the world, and what do you think they can do better in maintaining some sort of security and stability for the people who live in these areas, so that they are more prosperous today than they were yesterday, or more prosperous tomorrow as they are today?
Well, let's because there's a number of
there's many questions there. Yes, yeah.
The European Union has 27 members. There are a number of accession states that want to come in. You mentioned the Balkan states. They won't join. They can't join. Because the Eurozone within the European Union has 19 countries. And of those 19 countries, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Greece have been fundamentally hurt by COVID in a way that made a bad situation worse. Mm-hmm. So the EU capital that exists will have to be focused on repairing the damage caused to the Southern European Eurozone nations. Mm-hmm. There isn't going to be enough money to do that, and also to fund in the way that you saw the funding of Romania, Bulgaria, and Poland in the enlargement phases of 2004 and 2008. Mm-hmm. So no more arrivals to the European Union. No one's leaving the Eurozone.
Ever? Or until they have enough money to do so?
What you're going to see going forward is no one can afford to leave the Eurozone. No one can. If you ask me why that's the case, I'd say, well, give me a name of a nation that can leave the Eurozone without there being damage internally. I mean, if you suggest Greece could never leave the Eurozone, no, because if it went back to a drachma, it would become Zimbabwe. The Northern European states, if they had their own currency, essentially would see their currency even stronger against Southern. It would be effectively a case of an appreciation they couldn't afford. Mm-hmm. In terms of the European Union itself, we're seeing, as I mentioned, the likes of Hungary mm-hmm. and Poland mm-hmm. and Finland increasingly returning parties that are less federalist than the ones they replaced, more nationalist. So the European Union will survive in a much less federalist way than it currently is, because it's failed. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that as a Brexiteer. The reason I'm a Brexiteer isn't because I'm some sort of narrow-minded little Englander. My family are Greek and Greek Cypriot. Yeah. The reason I was a Brexiteer was I understand economics. Mm-hmm. And the net present discounted value from the UK staying in the European Union was less than the net present discounted value of it leaving. I believed that back in 2016, and I believe it even more in 2021. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the problem. Putting that aside, here is the fundamental problem for the Eurozone. Its currency. Mm-hmm. Its currency will go down against the pound, which it needs. The problem with the euro, it's currently 121 against the dollar. It will move to 130. The euro will move stronger and stronger and stronger, ever less competitively against the dollar and the yen, because China will begin to rebalance China has a currency management system which is multi-national. It no longer manages against the dollar strictly. It manages against 16 other currencies, of which the euro is the second biggest weighting. So as the Chinese push their currency up against the dollar, they're going to push more and more of their dollars into euros, pushing the euro. What happens to Germany and Holland? What happens to Belgium and the industrial mercantilists in the north as they become less competitive? Mm-hmm. What happens to Sweden, which has its own currency, and Denmark? I wouldn't be surprised if between now and the end of the year, Turkey devalues its currency. So So not only does the Eurozone face a devaluation, a competitive appreciation against the dollar, the euro becomes even less competitive against Turkey, which means the Southern Europeans who compete with Turkey for tourism and for basic foodstuffs are hit.
Mm-hmm.
The Eurozone then gets caught in a vice where the euro is getting stronger and stronger. It's the dollar and the Turkish lira, the Egyptian pound. The only respite the euro gets is going down against the pound.
If you'd like to hear this interview in its entirety, then head on over to SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other major podcast platform and search Four Corners Podcast.